Very good. Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the July 14th, 2022 Mobility Working Group meeting. Before we begin, just want to ask one more time, Avelia, who is serving as our clerk today, to confirm that we do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, but I don't see Avelia yet.
This is Joe Bride from Del Mar. I just got on now.
Very good, very good. Well, Ashley, since we have a quorum, we will proceed forward. Good morning, everyone. I'll start us off with just a few brief remarks. My name is Raul Campillo, and I'm the council member for the City of San Diego's 7th District, which spans from Linda Vista in the west to San Carlos in the east and includes Mission Valley, Tierra Santa, Serra Mesa, Grantville, Ally Gardens, and Del Cerro. I also serve as the Sandag Transportation Committee's vice chair under Chair Nora Vargas. I'm honored that I have the chance to convene and join this group of experts and professionals, advocates with decades of experience and who are dedicated to implementing our regional transportation plans, mobility solutions with cross-agency implementation. I know it's going to take a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do. And there are many data-driven reasons for the policies and plans and operations behind what we do as municipalities and as a region. I know that we're all here to work together to find ways to save money, speed up the process, and ultimately serve the constituents of all of our municipalities and the region as a whole, both on our side of the border and on the south side of the border. I do want to acknowledge that we are coming together in this mobility working group really because the regional transportation plan is going to be implemented and the mobility solutions are what we are discussing. And I'm looking forward to all the ways we can do that together. I will emphasize that as a personal motive, I want to see us increase the safety of everyone, regardless of their mode of transportation across our entire region, whether it's pedestrians, whether it's bicyclists, whether it's other electrical vehicles, whether it's cars. Everybody deserves to be able to travel our region safely, and I know that we all share in that goal. I also want to emphasize that while we work towards this, we know there's many different people with many different needs, whether it's getting to work, getting to school, just going somewhere for fun, tourism as well. And we also have individuals who require particular special needs, whether it's due to a disability or any other aspect of their life. We are going to make sure that everybody in our region feels well served and well heard in this mobility working group. And I know that we all share these values and these goals. And I'm so excited to see so many folks from across the county as part of this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us in this effort. And I know we're going to do a lot of good work. I would like to review the process for both the working group members as well as members of the public who wish to speak under public comment. For working group members, when you would like to speak, please click on the raise hand icon in the Zoom control panel. You have control over your video and mute functions, so please turn on your camera when you'd like to speak, and I will call on you. Do we have any questions before we continue at this point? Very good. Clerk, can we provide a quick reminder on how the public comment will work during our mobility working group meetings?
Yes, Chair, I'll go ahead and do that for Avelia. So as noted on the cover page of today's meeting agenda, in addition to emailed comments, the public may also provide live comments during today's meeting. To provide a live verbal comment during the meeting, please join the Zoom meeting either by computer or phone. At the time of public comments, members of the public are advised to raise hand if you wish to provide comments. The raise hand feature can be found on the Zoom toolbar for those who are joining via computer or by entering 9 for those joining via telephone. The chair will call on members of the public by name of those joining via computer and by the last 3 digits of the telephone number for those joining via telephone. All comments received prior to the close of the meeting will be made part of the meeting record. The instructions for providing live comments are also on the bottom of the cover page of today's meeting agenda, which can be accessed on the homepage of Sandag's website at www.sandag.org. And Council Member, I'll pass it back to you to get us started.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. We will proceed to our item first, member and public comments. Members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the opportunity to address the working group on any issues within the jurisdiction of Sandag that is not on this agenda. Before we proceed to this very briefly, I know that typically during our SANDAG meetings, we have translation services and other items like that. Do we have that functionality today?
No, Chair, we don't generally do translations for working group meetings. We can if there's a request 72 hours in advance of the meeting, and we did not receive a request.
Understood. All right, thank you for that. Now, item number 1, if we have members of the public who would like to participate and share a comment, they can raise their hand at this time. I'm looking at the attendees list. I am not seeing any hands raised at this moment. Are there any members of the working group who would like to offer comments or questions at this time? I see many cameras on, but I don't see any hands raised. Is there any, if you'd like to speak, please go ahead and unmute yourself, and you can begin if you're a member of the working group. Okay, straight to business. Thank you very much. I don't see any members of the public at this time either, so we will now proceed to item number 2, the agency report, and we will turn to Jennifer Williamson to provide SANDAG's agency report. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you, Chair. So as part of the SANDAG updates, I'd like to inform you about a couple of major new funding opportunities that we received. SANDAG was the recipient of $300 million to support the Low Sand Rail realignment project near Del Mar. We've been talking about this project for decades, and with this funding, we can finally move forward with design and environmental work needed to move the tracks off the bluff. Additionally, on Otay Mesa East, SANDAG is gearing up to celebrate the completion of the southbound SR 125 to westbound SR 905 connector ramp. It's a big project and we're super excited that it's done. Completion of the connector will enhance regional mobility and is a critical component of the new border crossing. The connector is one of the last remaining infrastructure improvements underway that will ultimately support mobility to and from the future port of entry. And then finally, we also learned that SANDAG will be receiving a $1 million grant to support some climate work down in Bodeguitos Lagoon. So that's also an exciting project. Joining me today are Marissa Mangan and Tracy, who will be providing an update. Marissa, why don't you go ahead and give the update on flexible fleets?
Sure. Thanks, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. I'm Marissa Mangan, a regional planner here at SANDAG in our mobility planning division. And on behalf of myself and Danielle Coachman, our strategic partnerships manager, we wanted to give you some updates on flexible fleets and the flexible fleet task force that we're looking to establish and seek some participation on. So since the adoption of our regional plan in December, we've been making quite a bit of progress on flexible fleets. Our Flex Fleet strategic plan has been underway and will wrap up this fall. We appreciate participation from a lot of cities that we've talked to over the last few months as part of that process. And we had released a flexible fleets on-call provider RFP back in February. We're currently in negotiations with 5 shared mobility service providers that both SANDAG and our local jurisdictions can leverage for a wide variety of flexible fleet pilots in the next 5 years. And last, we're also in the process of establishing a flexible fleets task force that can advise on a variety of flex fleet initiatives led by SANDAG, while leveraging it as an opportunity to exchange information with each other on current and forthcoming flexible fleet pilots that you all may be pursuing. Similar to the AB 43 task force already established under this working group, we're seeking 3 to 4 mobility working group members that can participate in this flexible fleets task force that's anticipated to meet about every 2 months beginning this September. Task forces are not subject to a quorum, but we'd like as many jurisdictions as possible to encourage your staff that are not already formally serving on this working group to participate in those bi-monthly meetings based on the flexible fleet agenda topics. The first date we anticipate convening the task force will be morning of Thursday, September 22nd. The September 22nd agenda will take a deeper dive into topics like the flexible fleet strategic plan. We'll have a discussion regarding our flexible fleet RFP and to determine if we want to recompete a couple of the categories we were unable to fill as part of that process. And we'd like to exchange updates on a variety of pilots that have been either recently deployed throughout the region or those that are in the planning stages. So we're looking for about 3 to 4 members of this group to volunteer to serve on the task force. Happy to take any interested members today, or if you want to get back to Jennifer by the end of the month, that'd be great. And we want to be able to spread the word regarding the existence of the task force so that you can have some of your fellow staff participate based on the agenda topics that come up.
Great. So for anyone who is interested and needs to mull it over, please just reach out to me or Ashley Wiley, who is part of our oversight for the mobility working group, and we'll get you linked up with Marissa. Okay. Marissa, it looks like we have Tom Frank interested.
Great.
And the County of San Diego. Awesome. We need one more person. Were we thinking 3, Marissa?
We were estimating 3 to 4, especially if we could have a geographic spread, but if we get staff from a lot of other cities to participate as well, that'd be great. Thanks, Alyssa.
Great, Marissa, it looks like you have a team.
Sounds good. We'll note who's volunteered. We can also try to think about if there's kind of a way we can rotate so that we don't, exceed those quorum thresholds, et cetera. But we appreciate the interest very much.
All right, thank you. Chair, we have one more Sandag update from Tracy. Tracy, if you'd like to join the meeting.
Hi, hi, I'm Tracy Furshaw, and I am program manager for a couple of our grant programs here at Sandag. Today I'm talking about a funding opportunity that's coming to our region. About $23.6 million will be available with the regional ATP competition. So back in April, as some of you might remember, Jenny Russo and I came to the STAC and SanTAC and made everybody aware that there was a state competition, ATP competition going on. And there is also a regional component to that. So that regional component to that actually started in July. So I think it was last week we sent out the regional call for projects started. Applications will be due October 7th, 2022. To stay informed, I encourage you to go to our grants website off of the sandag.org website. So our call for projects went out through BidNet, and if you're not familiar with using BidNet or anything like that, you can go to our grant site, and it gives you information on how to register. There's an FAQ information on there, as well as vendor information. So the good news is if you had already applied for the state competition, you'll automatically be pulled into the regional competition. So there's no further action on any of your parts if you've submitted the I know it's a cumbersome long application that the state provides. So you don't need to do anything more than that. If you did not apply for the state, but would like to apply for under the regional, I encourage you to do so. Again, go through BidNet on that. We will also, after the call in October, we will be reaching out probably in September, late August, early September, to get a team together for evaluators. So I'll be tapping some of you to maybe be on that panel. What else? Oh, So the ATP will have a supplemental augmentation. There's a second piece of really good news. Another 1.65 billion will be given to the state and then filtered through the MPOs of 660 million approximately in a cycle 6 supplemental augmentation. And they'll be pulling from, or I think for one of the things that the CTC is looking at is what cycles they'll be pulling from, and I believe that the recommendation so far is to pull from cycle 6. So that's another really important reason why you should apply through the cycle 6 cycle, and that's about it. Any questions?
Great. Thank you, Chair, or thank you, Tracy. Chair, we're done with the Sandag report.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Great work, both. If there's any members of the public who have a comment on the report, please raise your hand at this point, and I'll be happy to recognize you. Seeing none, if there's any members of the panel of the working group itself who would like to make a comment or ask a question, you can raise your hand. I also see a few people with their camera on. If you unmute yourself and like to make a comment, please go ahead. Seeing none. Do I see someone who just unmuted themselves? Nope. I really want to thank the folks from the city of Carlsbad, the county, city of San Diego, FACT, city of Chula Vista, who have graciously volunteered to be part of this task force. Thank you very much for that interest. And I'm sure we'll be getting in contact with you soon about that. Seeing no comments or questions from anyone, we will now move on to our next item, item number 3, which is member introductions. We will ask each person to introduce yourself, your agency, your organization, and briefly share major activities relevant to the working group. Staff will also review the work plan for the working group at this time. And so I will just go alphabetically as I have here on my list. Would the voting member from the city of Carlsbad please introduce yourself?
Oh, great. Thank you, Chair. My name is Tom Frank, and I'm the Transportation Director and City Engineer for the city of Carlsbad. And it's a great pleasure to be on this working group. I've worked with many of you and over the decades, and am a self-professed mobility geek. So really look forward to furthering the objectives of the regional plan and of this group. So just a little bit about what's going on in Carlsbad. We've been a frequent commenter on the draft regional plan, and of course, as a part of the review of the general plan, and I'm fairly up to speed with current board direction on the plan. So very exciting times, and I really love the current mantra which Sandag has, and that's faster, fairer, and cleaner. And to the chair's point, I'd like to add another word to that, and that is safer. So really excited about the direction of the regional plan and the forthcoming changes. In Carlsbad, we're kind of maturing now as a city. In our road network, we really only have one further extension gap closure to do, and that's on College Boulevard, and we are studying that. And everything we do, we look at doing in a multimodal fashion. So that's kind of going to complete our road network. Beyond that, we're also realigning South Carlsbad Boulevard, where we just launched that project, and it's really exciting. Anybody that is interested, just Google it, and you'll see our project webpage on that. So that's really exciting. Of course, the coastline has heavy multimodal demands. Marissa mentioned flexible fleets. That is something we've really been commenting on, and as a big picture, to me, what's really exciting with the general plan and now the forthcoming update to the general plan is where we get to focus our precious Transnet dollars. And what we've seen in the region is active transportation has skyrocketed, like pedestrian or bike demands up 40%. I'll keep it short, but in general, really excited to get more budget towards active transportation projects. In addition, focused on how we can get really cost-effective, clean, efficient VMT style public transit options. And to Marissa's point, flexible fleets is a great program. So really excited to have that conversation. I know San Diego and Oceanside have launched a flexible fleet type of program with Fred. And we also would like to pursue a larger flexible fleet style program similar to like a rideshare program. So that's something we're pursuing. We're also updating our traffic impact fee program to be a mobility related traffic impact fee program. So that's something I know Chula Vista is pursuing, but that's all encompassing. So really looking forward to working with the group on that subject. And I'll just keep it at that high level, but really look forward to being engaged in this group and furthering mobility within the region. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. We'll now move to the City of Chula Vista, followed by City of Coronado.
Good morning, everyone. Frank Rivera with City of Chula Vista, Principal Civil Engineer, and I'm responsible for the city's capital improvement program and getting our grant funding. I've been with the city for 38 years. And Chula Vista is a bicycle-friendly community. We recently updated our active transportation plan and completed a 4-mile-long bike lane project on Broadway, which connects from National City to the north of us down to City of San Diego to the south of us. So it's a very important commercial corridor for us. And also we did our downtown business district, 3rd Avenue, over 3 phases with the help of SANDAG and the Smart Growth Incentive Program. We've got other projects planned at an F Street Promenade that we've submitted a grant for and completing the Bayshore Bikeway. Our Bayfront area is bicycle and pedestrian friendly with a lot of amenities that are slowly starting to get installed. And our big hotel and convention center just started construction on that. So I've also been with Sandtech and CTEC for many, many decades, participating in a lot of efforts with the region and our partners at Caltrans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francisco. City of Coronado, followed by County of San Diego.
Look, I'm Howard Lee, City of Coronado Active Transportation Planner, and just really excited to be a participant in this working group. Here in Coronado, we're continually looking to improve our active transportation network, our bike and pedestrian network. As you may be aware, in our city, we get lots and lots of visitors and commuters with the ferry and through transit. We're looking to just improve our network, improve bike safety, and particularly lately, we've been hearing a lot of community feedback about e-bikes and e-bike safety and how they need to be better interfaced within our bikeway network. And so we're looking at different educational opportunities and different ways to promote bike safety and e-bike safety within our network. There's definitely a lot of concern about that here locally. And so definitely looking forward to being part of this group. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. County of San Diego, followed by City of Del Mar.
Hi, I'm Lynette Tessitore, and I am the Chief of Long Range Planning. The County of San Diego has been a partner with SANDAG through various projects. Many of you spoke about the Transnet capital improvement projects. The county as well has those projects. We're taking a little different approach to our appointment with having a planner sit on this group rather than an engineer, though we will be coordinating heavily with our partners in Public Works. There's a real strength in planning the intersection between planning, housing, and transportation. The County of San Diego is a leader in that space and wants to be a part of this group. And those conversations, we have met with Marissa and her team on the flexible fleet pilot study to be able to bring our folks into those mobility hubs, those areas that are outside of those identified locations. We most recently received $500,000 for a community-based transportation program where we will focus on 4 communities and providing multi-mobility in those communities in connection with those mobility hubs. So very privileged to sit on this group. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lynette. City of Del Mar, followed by City of El Cajon.
Hi, I'm Joe Bride, the Public Works Director for the City of Del Mar. I'm also the city engineer. The biggest capital program we have that is related to this working group is the city's sidewalk connectivity program. It started about 10 years ago where City Council came up with enough money for us to make Del Mar a walkable community. So we've been installing pedestrian ramps and sidewalks all along our major arterials from San Diego all the way to Solana Beach. We've also been working on making it a bikeable community. We've got bike lanes up and down our major arterials. We do green paint for the bicycle conflict zones, and we've been working really hard, made a lot of progress to make Del Mar a walkable and bikeable community. So I'm excited to be on this committee and to keep working in that direction.
Thank you so much, Joe. City of El Cajon, followed by City of Encinitas.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Mario Sanchez. I'm the Deputy Director of Public Works / City Engineer. And I've been a past CTAC chairperson as well as for Sandtech for several years. And we just adopted our active transportation plan back in May. I'd like to thank Tracy for her assistance with reporting and invoicing. And then we have our big El Cajon Boulevard and Johnson Avenue roundabout. It's a smart growth project. It'll be in construction in the fall. We're looking forward to that. And then we're following that, or is our Main Street, Green Street project. It's cycle four tracks, bicycle tracks, and a lot of nice things happening here in El Cajon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mario. City of Encinitas, followed by City of Escondido.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jack Lorbeer, and I am the Senior Mobility Coordinator for the City of Encinitas. Actually, a former Sandag employee from 1990 to 94. So it's great to see all the stuff still going on with Sandag and appreciate it. I can think of about 5 things that are going on in the City of Encinitas involving mobility. My own position was just created last year to emphasize mobility in Encinitas. We're actually updating our mobility element of our general plan. We are taking our active transportation plan and all the projects in there, and we're actually now going through a prioritization process, working with the public and the City Council in terms of starting to funnel money to get these projects underway. Great thing for us in Encinitas is we just got funding for our next phase of what's called the streetscape. That's from Encinitas Boulevard North up to La Costa. That's a emphasized mobility element project in terms of bicycle and pedestrian, lowering speeds, putting in roundabouts. So we're really excited about that. We're starting a Vision Zero action plan here in the City of Encinitas. We're certainly on a good trend here in terms of reducing fatalities and serious injuries, and we want to keep that going. And then also one of our main arterials, the El Camino Real, is going through a corridor study, certainly going to emphasize active transportation in that major corridor. So those are just some of the things going on, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, Jack. City of Escondido, followed by the City of Imperial Beach.
Yes, good morning. Julie Procopio, the City Engineer for the City of Escondido. The City of Escondido is very much focused on mobility and connecting our community. We're in the final stages of completing our Escondido Creek Trail, which runs from one end of the city, which is essentially the county, all the way to the city of San Marcos and connects with the Inland Rail Trail. So that's an exciting effort. We're embarking upon a comprehensive active transportation strategy and also a traffic signal master plan by which we expect to upgrade all of the city's signal communication and controller system. We just completed a local roadway safety plan, and we are also just getting ready to adopt a vehicle miles traveled exchange program to help implement some important mobility improvements through development projects. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie. City of Imperial Beach, followed by the City of La Mesa.
Good morning. My name is Juan Larios, and I'm the Deputy Public Works Director here at the City of Imperial Beach. I'm responsible for our CIP projects here. And over the last few years, we've been implementing active transportation projects here in the city, namely Imperial Beach Boulevard And we're looking to go ahead and start a new project on 9th Street. We really want to make sure that we finish our bicycle network here in the city. And we're also looking to go ahead and establish a traffic management center here in the city. We have Coronado to the west, City San Diego to the east. So we're also going to be implementing coordination with our traffic signals, so that will be really beneficial to the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. City of La Mesa, followed by the City of Lemon Grove.
Good morning. My name is Michael Throne. I'm the new Director of Public Works and the City Engineer here for the City of La Mesa. We are currently in the final stages of adopting the draft Integrated Complete Streets Design Manual here for the city, which we will use in the next 2 years to do some improvements in the downtown area and in the outer areas to bring a lot more bicycle routes in through town, as well as to connect to our transit stops. And that's what we're on right now.
Thank you very much, Michael. City of Lemon Grove, followed by the City of San Diego. Don't believe Lemon Grove's representative could join us this morning. We will now go to the City of San Diego, followed by the City of San Marcos.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Alyssa Muto. I am the director of a recently merged Sustainability Mobility Department at the City of San Diego. And really, we're focused on the ecosystem of mobility. So everything from walkability and bikeability through transit. And then how do we switch people out of combustion vehicles to zero emissions vehicles when and if they need to drive. Some of the things we've been working on is we have a new VMT standard that we implemented a little bit over a year ago, along with a fee structure that allows for any development outside of those VMT efficient areas to be reinvested into our communities that really need and demand the connections of bike and transit and walking. We've been working on complete streets policy, so we're really excited about that. And all of this is a mobility master plan. And all of this is really to reflect our climate action plan that is going to be going forward to council within the next couple of weeks. Some of the additional improvements that we've been looking at with bike safety is putting in separated bike facilities. And just to share with everyone, we've been using some of our scooter data as well as sensor data to show that when you build it, they really do come. So our 30th Street separated bike facility has shown significant increases in for scooter data from single double digits to triple digits on a daily basis, and that's really exciting. We're also looking at those major north, south, east, west connections for commuters, but then looking at our neighborhoods a little bit more and how we can improve bikeability, because really every mile counts when we're thinking about climate action and sustainability. Working with MTS on our through connections and making sure that we are improving on-time performance where we can through our corridors. Working with SANDAG on the flexible fleets. We just didn't shared mobility devices scooter RFP, so we'll be selecting 4 operators to work in the city of San Diego. And that's a little bit different than our past program, which was permit-based and it was open to whoever wanted. We've been working on pedestrian improvements. If you've been downtown to the gas lamp quarter, the 5th Avenue Promenade is working towards being a more permanent situation, which we're really excited about, and looking at ADA compliance and parking around our city. And really lastly is the zero emissions vehicles. We've recently hired a zero emissions vehicle program manager who will be working on a strategy for citywide charging on public properties at public facilities to address both the equity and then the multifamily needs for EV charging. So with that, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this group.
Very much, Alyssa. Can attest, great work as always. City of San Marcos, followed by the City of Santee.
Good morning, everybody. Stephanie Keller, Principal Civil Engineer with City of San Marcos. We are a rapidly growing city right now, so that presents some unique opportunities that other cities in the region may not have. We're experiencing right now the development of a multimodal focused area known as our University District, which is essentially a new downtown for San Marcos. We're also reimagining San Marcos Boulevard with a focus on multi-mobility. And we see that corridor, San Marcos Boulevard corridor, as being not only critical to mobility in San Marcos, but also in the wider region. It's an important link. We are underway in our general plan update process, which will include mobility element updates. We're also initiating our VMT mitigation fee program. And so we're definitely looking at what Ms. Muto is doing there in the city of San Diego and other agencies, and how we can best get the most bang for the buck when we're implementing projects and make sure we're putting them in the areas that are really decreasing vehicle miles traveled. We're also going to be launching soon a comprehensive active transportation plan update. So this is well timed for us to hear the insights of the surrounding neighbors as we're initiating that. So thank you for including us in the group.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. City of Santee, followed by City of Solana Beach.
Good morning, Minji Mei, City of Santee, Principal Traffic Engineer. I've been working with the CTEC and SANTEC before, and also will be representing the city at this group, and glad to be here. And the city has recently completed our active transportation plan and also the VMT guidelines. So we're progressing on those, and the city has been implementing much of the bicycle network in the last 10 plus years. And one of the major remaining project is the San Diego River Trail that goes through the city. And I know SANDAG also is working on part of that as well. I think SANDAG has provided funding for the design of the river trail. Of course, that's part of the SANDAG regional trail as well. So that's one of the priorities for the city. And another priority for the city is the SR 52. Although it's the freeway, but it goes through Santee and also kind of begins in Santee. Although Santee is on the very east end of it, but Santee bears the brunt of the impact of this freeway, because in the morning particularly, and also PM, but the morning in particular, the traffic is so bad that the congestion spreads to many of the major arterials in the city. So that's one of the priorities for Santee as well. And another big project we are doing is a roundabout, the first roundabout, I think first roundabout of that size in East County, for the SR 67 and Woodside Avenue, which is funded by the city. It should be going into construction by the end of the year. So that's some highlights for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Minji. We will be going to City of Solana Beach, followed by City of Oceanside. And just want to remind folks, if you are unmuted, sometimes we can hear things coming through, so please make sure you're muted. City of Solana Beach.
Good morning, Councilmember Campillo. My name is Mo Samak. I'm the City Engineer and Public Works Director for City of Solana Beach. Before I talk a little bit about our city, I wanted to take a moment and welcome you to this group as the outgoing former chair of CTAC. Just want to mention that this is a very talented and diverse group of professionals that their expertise covers pretty much the entire gamut of any mobility related expertise. We look forward to having a productive relationship with you and the rest of the group. So welcome aboard. Solana Beach is a small city in the northern area, beach community. We have a number of projects, just like many other agencies. We embrace the Vision Zero that has been developed by SANDAG. We are very much in transforming our infrastructure into a more user-friendly environment for all users, including not just bicycles and pedestrians, but also aging population and disadvantaged people. Our city is basically dissected into two major components, east and west of I-5, with only one connection between the two. Obviously, we have our own challenges. We have a number of CIP projects that are going to address more connectivity between east and west. But in general, we look forward to working with this group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mo. We will now be going to City of Oceanside, followed by City of Vista.
Hi, my name is Tila Cotter. I'm with the City of Oceanside. I'm the city traffic engineer. I've been with the city for over 15 years and has just the last couple of months been appointed city traffic engineer. As for the city, we have a Coast Highway Corridor study that we have completed, and now we have an RFP out for design for the whole stretch of Coast Highway from the north city limits all the way down to Vista Way. So we're excited that that is moving along. It includes uncontrolled crosswalks and roundabouts. And so we're really looking forward to that and narrowing it from 4 lanes to 2 lanes along Coast Highway. Then we're also working on design for College Boulevard and making improvements there. And I'm excited that we're looking into cycle tracks along that corridor, because I feel like it will help increase the amount of cyclists, in that area. And then also we're working on our mobility element, and that's a nice long process, I'm sure, as everybody knows. We also have, as Frank mentioned, our EV shuttle pilot program that is currently taking place in the downtown area of Oceanside, and it started early last month, and it has been going very well, utilized very well. It starts in the morning and goes till 11 o'clock at night. And we've only heard only good things about the program, so it's going very well. Constantly kind of working on getting the coastal rail trail going to complete that bike path along the coastal zone within Oceanside. I know planning has been working on the smart and sustainable corridor plan. And so that's an ongoing thing as well on our end. And then just having projects trying, with rapid flashing beacons and radar feedback signs.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tiala. We will now move to City of Vista, followed by Metropolitan Transit System, MTS.
Yeah, Chair. Greg Mayer, who's the city engineer for Vista, texted me, and unfortunately he had a conflict that came up, so he had to leave the meeting. But he did ask me to convey to the working group that he's really excited to participate. And for the city of Vista, they're focused on improving their pedestrian network. So with that, I'll turn it back to the chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that update, Tom. Let's go into MTS, followed by North County Transit District. Hi, Matt. I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. I'm a relatively new transit planner here at MTS. We have 2 projects relative to this group that we're pretty excited about. We have construction started on our South Bay electrification project. It's going to completely install overhead charging for our buses there at our Chula Vista facility. And then actually last week, we just learned that we won a TIRCP grant from the state to start electrification at our Imperial Avenue division as well. In general, just looking forward to working with everyone on their mobility projects, and yeah, happy to be here.
Thanks so much, Matt. I'm now moving to NCTD and then the Port of San Diego.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Persons, Director of Service Planning with North County Transit District. I'm very excited to be a part of this working group with so many familiar faces. So my core focus is the planning and implementation of NCTD's 5 modes, and my alternate on this working group is focused on NCTD's transit station redevelopment efforts. So between the 2 of us, we're excited to share all things related to the integration of transit, housing, and development. To highlight just a few things, NCTD summer so far has been filled with all things zero emission bus, youth opportunity pass, and NCTD's ongoing Breeze bus speed and reliability study, which is focused on identifying projects that can help improve the travel time competitiveness of our bus network. So we're working each day to better integrate our services within the community. So excited to use the momentum within this group to continue to advance that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Katie. Port of San Diego, followed by Airport Authority. I think our Port of San Diego individual could not make it today. Do we have the Airport Authority, followed by, then we'll go into our advisory members.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the Airport Authority. Good morning, Chair. My name is Brendan Reed. I'm the Director of Airport Planning and Environmental Affairs for the Airport Authority. We have a number of initiatives that we're implementing right now to support mobility in the region. In late 2021, we launched a new all-electric, no-cost shuttle from the Old Town Transit Center to the airport terminals. Really important, this complements MTS's bus 992 that comes from downtown. So we really are picking up passengers from the north, east, and the south now in a more efficient way. If anyone's been near the airport, you know there's a lot of construction going on. And when the new Terminal 1 opens, first phase being done by 2025, there will be a number of mobility improvements, a new on-airport entry road, as well as some investments we're making off-site with cycle tracks and bike paths along North Harbor Drive, Grape, and Pacific Highway. And then kind of a neat mobility component that we're working on with Sandag is we received a Caltrans grant to create a regional strategy for advanced air mobility. These are the electric vertical takeoff landing aircraft of the very near future. So we want to be a regional leader in making sure that we intersect ground transportation or surface transportation and air transportation seamlessly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brendan. I apologize. My chart with the list was split over 2 pages, so I didn't see on the second page our representative from City of National City and then City of Poway. So we'll go in that order next.
Chair, I don't think we have a representative for National City here today.
Understood. Do we have a representative from the City of Poway?
Hi, Melody Rocco here. I am the city engineer for City of Poway. For projects that are going on here in Poway, we are nearly complete with a shared use facility along Espola Road, which will finally connect and have access between Poway High School and Twin Peaks Middle School, as well as Tierra Bonita Elementary School. Maybe I have those backwards. But anyway, middle school and elementary school off of Twin Peaks. And we're also looking at adding adaptive signals along the north side of Espola Road, as well as on Poway Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melody. Now moving to our advisory member. I believe we do have the representative from FACT here.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, everybody. This is Arun Prem from FACT. I really appreciate Sandag including us in this group. And I've been listening to the descriptions of projects from all across the county, all the cities, and it's really, really a revelation to hear so much is going on with mobility related planning and implementation of projects. I really love the charter of this group. It reads, it's about cross-agency coordination, and we'll work on policy planning, development, deployment of coordinated projects. That is the mission of FACT. FACT is here to coordinate specialized transportation, and we are the only entity that provides transportation for special needs across the entire county, which is accessible and affordable. So coordination is very, very close to our hearts at FACT because it's our mission, it's all we do. And it's something that we want to promote across the whole county as Sandag's Consolidated Transportation Service Agency. So I'm excited to be with this group. And I'm hoping that by the, but as time rolls on, I'll hear a lot more updates from cities saying, this is what we did
Thank you so much, Arun. I know that we will soon have representatives from Caltrans, DOD, and the Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association, but we could not get them here today. If there's any working group members or who have questions or comments, please go ahead. If there's a member of the public who has comment on this item, please raise your hand. I see Nicole Burgess has raised her hand.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Campillo, for recognizing and letting me comment on. It's so great to hear all of you and be part of this mobility working group, to hear all the great multimodal projects that you have in your cities and really focusing on all forms of transportation. So I just want to thank all of you, and that last bit, cross-agency coordination. So that's really what I'm here to kind of address. And Vision Zero, thank you all for addressing Vision Zero, and Sandag for looking at traffic fatalities, especially vulnerable users, and in the city of San Diego and other cities that are implementing class 4 bikeways. As we know, those high fast corridors are, if you get hit in those corridors, the rate of you dying is actually higher. So really having those protections is really important. So just real quick to note, because I did see Poway's here, so thank you, Melody, for being here, and City of San Diego. I do represent City of San Diego for the mobility board that they have, and I represent District 5, and I rode through there, and I've been riding through there, and they've been having some water projects on Pomerado Road. And as this goes through City of San Diego and Poway, this is on old, historic Highway 395. This is an opportune time to actually implement those class 4s. And I'm not convinced that Poway is doing their share. I've looked at City of San Diego. We kind of get up to the borderline, and just want to ensure that we are doing all we can through Poway to make sure that we are protected for those vulnerable users, as that is just an important super high corridor. And then just thank you for all of the other great efforts, and MTS for being here and really looking at how we can create better BRT and efficiency for our transit use. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Seeing no further hands, just want to say thank you all for the introductions. It's exciting to hear all the expertise and energy you all bring to this, noting that we have planners, planning experts, engineers, lots of engineers, more engineers, and still more engineers, and I am a lawyer. So I'm looking forward to this. Well, we will now move on to item number 4, which is the Transnet Ordinance Amendments Subcommittee of the Mobility Working. Oh, Jennifer, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We were going to very quickly just review the charter and the work plan for the group. And I'll just give a quick update on those before we go into the agenda items.
Excellent. My apologies. Please proceed.
No, that's fine. So for those of you who don't know me, and I know several of you, I'm Jennifer Williamson. I'm the Mobility Planning Manager at Sandag. I'm also your staff coordinator for this mobility working group. As you're probably all aware, because I know a lot of you came from CTAC and SANTAC, that group has kind of merged into this mobility working group to provide a broader focus of mobility related projects. Sandag's all about integration now of different modes. And so we really felt like the CTAC SANTAC would need to be better morphed into a group that identifies all mobility solutions. So just essentially the charter is something that I think you saw at the end of the CTAC SANTAC, but if not, certainly we sent that out to you and we're open to comments on this. What the charter does is it essentially outlines the administrative rules for our working group. Basically, the purpose of this group is to provide input on different projects and policies, planning, development across all different types of mobility. Essentially, the mobility working group will provide direction to our transportation committee. So you'll see that on there. The membership is made up of 1 voting member and 1 alternative member from each of Sandag's member agencies. And then we also have some advisory members. And I appreciate all of you doing an introduction. That really helps us to, understand what everybody brings to the table. If our chair is not able to be at the meeting, I will chair the meeting. So we shouldn't have any kind of time that we are not able to have a meeting of this group. We do meet every other month. So that'll be 6 meetings a year. Our next meeting is in September. And I will share with you that this is a hot meeting at Sandag. Let me tell you, we have agenda items for you guys through all of this fiscal year. So be prepared, and a lot of requests for assistance and subcommittee participation. So I think you guys will have, this group will have a lot to do. So that's essentially the charter. If we can bring up the work plan real quickly, we'll go through that. The work plan is something that is draft right now, and we will be finalizing it after this meeting. Essentially, what the work plan does is identify the different topics for consideration at this working group. And I'm not going to go through all of them because I know that we sent this out in advance. Essentially, what you'll see is a broad range of topics, and these items are all designed to implement the regional plan at Sandag. So you'll see all different elements and different topics that relate to mobility. So with that, I am going to wrap it up, but I did want to go through that very quickly. These are essential documents for our committee and our group as we go forward. And Chair, I'll turn it back to you so we can get into the agenda.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Excellent work, and excited to help implement and follow this charter. Moving to item, are there any comments or questions on that at this point? Seeing none, we'll give the members of the public a chance to raise their hand to discuss the charter if they have any comments on that. Seeing none, we will now move to item number 4, Transnet Ordinance Amendments Subcommittee of the Mobility Working Group. We'll now hear an update on the Amendments Subcommittee of the Mobility Working Group from Ariana Zorniden and Zara Sadagian from Sandag. Please proceed.
Thank you, and good morning, Chair Raul Campillo and Mobility Working Group members. My name is Ariana Zorniden, and I am Sandag's Financial Programming and Transnet Program Manager. And I am joined by Zara Sadagian, Senior Financial Programming Analyst on our team. We're going to be providing the presentation for you today. And today's item continues discussion of potential ordinance amendments that we are here to ask you to appoint a subcommittee of your membership to help us develop these amendments. In particular, the ones that have to do with the local street and road program and transit, given this committee's new membership and role. And we've been soliciting feedback from our board, our Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee, the Transportation Committee, the Cities and Counties Transportation Advisory Committee to maintain consistency with the regional plan and to address various audit recommendations. That's with the goal of making enhancements to the Transnet program in the public's best interest. Several of you may have already heard portions of today's presentation in your previous roles on the CTAC, for instance, but for the benefit of our new members, we'll be running through some of the background on the proposed amendments just to refresh everyone's memory. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So there's 3 main documents that we're going to be referring to throughout today's presentation. Those include the ordinance itself, which requires that projects proposed to be funded with revenues under Transnet have to be consistent with the latest regional plan. We also have the 10-year comprehensive program review that calls for an evaluation of the Transnet program every 10 years. The Transnet program was approved based on a 2004 perspective, so this is our opportunity to help ensure continued benefits to the region's taxpayers for each subsequent 10 years of the program. And then there's the ordinance requirement for the Transnet ITOC or Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee to conduct triennial performance audits. That provides an increased level of accountability and improvements to the efficiency of the program. And these performance audits help ensure voter mandates are carried out and help improve the financial integrity and performance of the program. And while the ITOC's performance auditors have recognized in their audit findings that Sandag and partner agencies have been doing a good job implementing the ordinance, they've also identified areas for improvement. And toward that end, we've gathered over the years various lessons learned, and we continue striving to meet the public's needs and address feedback received, which is also why we're here today, to get a subgroup of this working group involved in bringing these amendments forward, ultimately for consideration by the Sandag board. Next slide, please. So we have delivered several presentations up until now since 2021. We presented draft concepts for the amendments in November, then we provided an updated revenue forecast in December, And then we provided a comprehensive regional funding overview based on all the feedback that we got from the board, the Transportation Committee, CTAC, and other stakeholders. So we're here today to work with all of you to establish the subcommittee. But again, we drafted an inventory of potential ordinance amendments for you as part of this presentation, which you can see here. I'm going to be going over each of these throughout our presentation today, but the focus is primarily on the local street and road program. Again, given your role, performance tracking as it relates to that, incorporation of digital communication, social equity. We'll be looking at the bicycle and pedestrian neighborhood safety program, as well as transit, given that you have transit operators as part of your membership. Next slide, please. So I just want to spend a little bit of time. This is the Transnet flow of funds chart. It is captures the various funding pots and the related percentages for each of these. As all of you know, I'm sure Transnet collects 0.5% of sales tax for transportation improvements in the region. So if you look at the flow chart off the top, you can see that we have 3 set-asides that include up to 2% for Sandag administration. There's a $250,000 per year, and that's adjusted for inflation each year for the ITOC activities. That includes the annual fiscal audits, their performance audits, other key oversight activities that they are responsible for. Then we have 2% set aside for the bicycle pedestrian neighborhood safety program, also referred to as BPNS, and that helps fund bike and pedestrian capital projects in the region. And then from the net revenues, there's 38% that is allocated to the major corridor capital projects, 6.8% for the environmental mitigation program, 2.1% for smart growth incentive grant program. There's 29.1% set aside for local street and road formula funds, and 16.5% for transit services, another 8.1% for new transit operations funding. From there, the funding pots are further broken down, as you can see, to support ADA, senior services, and past subsidies. So that covers the background for today's overview. I'm going to hand it over to Zara to walk us through each of the sub-program amendments that would be considered within the Transnet program.
Thank you, Ariana. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, sorry. The local street and road program in the ordinance provides formula funding to each city and the county to supplement other revenues available for local street and road improvements. Currently, there is a requirement for at least 70% of the revenues of LSR purposes to be used to fund expenditures for construction of new or expanded facilities, major reconstruction of roadways, traffic signal coordination, and other types of improvements. There's also a requirement for no more than 30% of this funding to be used toward maintenance-related projects. This is typically referred to as the 70%, 30% congestion relief and maintenance split, consistent with the ITOC's triennial performance audit recommendation from 2018 and the board's 10-year review that called for revisiting the 70-30 split to be more relevant with local needs. An option being considered is removing this requirement. Another area to update is the list of the typical types of the eligible capital, operation, and maintenance facilities under the LSR program. This is a listing in the board policy that implements the ordinance. We are looking to develop updates to this list in close partnership and with input from all of you to incorporate key features to complete corridors that create connections within communities and across jurisdictions. This would help benefit the public by letting people choose their best travel options and prioritize safety in local project funding decisions. In addition, both the board's 10-year review and the ITOC's 2018 performance audit called for enhanced performance tracking and reporting to better measure progress against goals and to demonstrate outputs and outcomes achieved under the Transnet program. Performance reporting would be a benefit to help demonstrate to the public their return on investment and would be proposed to be required of all transit recipient agencies. Next slide, please. The ITOC's 2018 performance audit calls for Sandag to establish a comprehensive performance framework to better measure progress against ordinance goals. The board's 10-year review also calls for additional reporting to demonstrate accomplishments and states that while Sandag and partner agencies do provide a lot of reporting, the data was difficult to summarize and demonstrate all the accomplishments and performance outcomes achieved. In addition, the Plan of Excellence, which was a comprehensive response to requirements and recommendations SANDAG committed to undertake to strengthen the organization through increased transparency and accountability, considered improvements to data analysis, including tracking Transnet accomplishments. Options being considered would require all Transnet recipient agencies to report performance in the interest of enhanced transparency and demonstrating taxpayer return on investment. Next slide, please. The board's 10-year review recommends investment in technology to better manage the transportation network. In addition, the SANDAG board adopted a resolution supporting digital equity consistent with Governor Newsom's executive order, calling for deployment and acceleration of broadband networks to improve infrastructure and public safety. In accordance with the requirement for the ordinance to be consistent with the original plan, the change proposed would require that all new or major reconstruction projects funded with Transnet integrate digital communications infrastructure where needed. Benefits would include expanding access so everyone in our region can benefit from broadband services and help address the growing gap between people who do and do not have access to high-speed internet. Next slide, please. As part of the development of the 2021 regional plan, SANDAG used performance measures and other evidence to make decisions intended to ensure compliance with Title VI requirements and environmental justice principles. In accordance with the requirement for the ordinance to be consistent with the regional plan, an additional section would be proposed to be added to incorporate social equity and environmental justice within the ordinance to truly promote equitable distribution of benefits and burdens resulting from transit-funded projects and programs. Next slide, please. The next section in BPNS program, also known as Active Transportation Program, under which the ordinance provides funding for bikeway facilities, connectivity improvements, bike and pedestrian safety projects, etc. As we have shared in recent presentations with the board and other stakeholders, regional plan priorities emphasize mobility and safety and include complete corridors, which are a requirement for state competitive funding. The ITALK's performance audit recommendations call for improvements to the regional bike early action program and safety efforts. Amendments would expand major corridors definition to include flexible fleet and ITS and communications technologies and clarify that bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure is an eligible use under the major corridor program, and the amount of funding available under the current BPNS program would be proposed to be increased. These proposed amendments would help propel us toward benefits that include protecting the vulnerable users of our roads, prioritizing safety in local project funding decisions, and using data to understand inequities while actively working to address them. Next slide, please. The next one on the list is transit operations funding. The ordinance includes 8.1% for operation of specific new or expanded service transit projects. These funds are not eligible for operation of services in existence prior to the effective date of the ordinance. Consistent with the ITALK 2018 performance audit, which discussed potential long-term funding shortfalls within the 8.1% section, we are bringing forward options for your consideration that include and would memorialize that this funding does not cover 100% of operations and would also help clarify that SANDAG, MTS, and NCTD are to keep working together to obtain matching funding. The most recent transit operations plan of finance also noted that we would return when Midcoast was ready to start service and when we had more certainty on cost assumptions, which is what we are doing now here today. We have heard from our transit operators and have acknowledged that funds do not cover the need and do not get us as far as originally thought. It is also important to note, however, that this does not mean the funding to this section goes away. It will still continue through 2048. But this is an opportunity for SANDAG, NTS, NCTD, and our leadership to partner and work together to find a solution to fund the shortfall. Next slide, please. The ordinance requires transit operators to limit the increase in their operating costs from 1 year to the next to no more than the increase in the consumer price index. When the requirement is not achieved, then the operator may not receive any additional funding in the following year above the amount received in the previous year. When there are unusual circumstances beyond the operator's control, such as increase in costs for fuel, insurance, or new mandates, operators can request approval from the board acting as the commission to exclude certain cost increases or calculate the requirement as an average over the 3 previous fiscal years so they can come into compliance. The ITOX 2018 audit recommended revisiting transit operator eligibility requirements due to recurring exception results. In addition, Transportation Committee members' significant discussion at recent meetings echoed the need to revisit these requirements to better measure performance. Also important to note is that at the state level, the performance metrics under the Transportation Development Act, or TDA, are being revisited, and since some transit requirements for transit and are modeled after TDA statute to some extent, it could be worthwhile to see the outcome of these discussions at the state level that could potentially help inform any proposed revisions to this section of the ordinance. With that, I will hand it back to Ariana to cover the timeline and next steps.
Thanks, Zara. Next slide, please. And then let's go ahead and go to the next slide as well, which is the timeline. So here, in terms of the estimated time frame for getting these things done, we anticipate having the, during summer and fall, developing a work plan, bringing that forward to both the ITOC and the Mobility Working Group sometime this fall. Once you establish your subcommittee of the Mobility Working Group to work on these Transnet amendments, then we anticipate those meetings continuing through the end of the year, and then bringing forward some amendments in draft, including not only amendments to the ordinance, but also related board policy amendments, probably in fall or winter, late fall, early winter, and then finalizing those amendments this spring so that we could bring them forward for board, for ITOC recommendation to the board for their consideration sometime late spring, early summer. Next slide, please. If you could actually load the recommendation slide, I think you have one as well. But yeah, so the Mobility Working Group is asked to appoint no more than 7 members to the Transnet Ordinance Amendment Subcommittee of the Mobility Working Group. And I would just say that in order to have, good sub-regional representation and an odd number of members, staff is suggesting that the working group appoint 7 members to the subcommittee. That could include 1 member each from, for example, North County Inland, North County Coastal, the East County, South County subregions. And then in addition, we would suggest that both transit operators be appointed as well as 1 member, perhaps from the city of San Diego, being the largest city. We do anticipate subcommittee meetings to start either late July or early August, depending on subcommittee member availability, and meeting perhaps once or twice per month leading up to the end of the year as necessary. So with that, Zara and I are happy to try and answer questions.
And Ariana, I'd like to put it out to the group that we will be taking members who wish to be a part of the subcommittee at this meeting. So you can raise your hand or put in the chat that you would like to participate. Or if after the meeting you decide that this is something you'd like to be a part of, certainly reach out to us. We have received an email from Tom Frank, and we know that you are interested. So we do have your name on this group as well. Ashley, will you put up the timeline slide again?
I'm seeing that City of San Diego, Alyssa Muto has volunteered as well. Thank you very much. Katie Persons from MCTD, thank you. Matt Marquez from MTS, thank you very much for that as well. So I think that puts us at 5. So thus we have space for 2 more. Lynette Tessitore from the county, thank you. That's 6. It's 1 more spot for the first person who would like it. I think right now we are at 6 at the moment, and I think we can look for any other folks after the meeting as well, correct, Jennifer?
Yes, but it looks like Solana Beach has their hand up, so.
Great, yes, Mo, thank you very much. Okay, so we are at the point, first of all, so I believe we have 7 volunteers, and I guess because it is an official, do we have to have a motion to appoint in a second on this since it is an action? Am I correct on that, Jennifer?
Actually, no, we don't need a motion. We can go ahead and take this list, and Ariana, we would go ahead and kind of look through who has, you know, volunteered to participate and get back to the group after this meeting.
Wonderful. Okay, well, that's great. If there's any comments from the public on this particular item, please raise your hand and we're happy to recognize you at this moment. Seeing none at the moment, are there any individuals who would like to speak to the item? I see a few hands that are up. They might be remaining hands from earlier. If you want to speak as a member of the working group on this item, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Hi, Mo. Yes.
Hi, Chair. If I may, I raise my hand. I certainly would serve, but the purpose that I volunteered is that I love the way we characterize how we want to represent in this particular working group. But my main concern was small cities also be represented. So I'm open if somebody else is willing to take my place. Otherwise, I will serve. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that perspective. Absolutely agree. I mean, I know our smaller municipalities have different needs than the bigger cities. So thank you for pointing that important detail out. Any other comments or questions? I see Alyssa Muto is unmuted.
Yes, thank you, Chair Campillo. I have a question for the Sandag staff with this representation. So the City of San Diego has an alternate for the mobility working group. Can that individual be the person to sit on the subcommittee, or does it need to be the primary voting member? And then my second question is, could it even be a non-voting member or alternate that can be on that group? Thank you.
Ariana, do you want to chime in there? Because my thinking is that we probably need a member from the working group.
Yeah, I think I would defer to you, Jennifer. I would say, yeah, it probably needs to be a member from the working group, whether that's an alternate or a primary, I think is probably fine, right?
Yes.
And then I'm not sure who, when you mentioned non-voting member, I'm not sure, is that somebody that's on the working group?
Yeah, one of our senior staff persons to be on this. I'm probably fine with the alternate being also on the group or in lieu of me.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just say that we need somebody from the working group, either a acting member or an alternate, because the recommendations are going to be going to TC. So it's kind of an important element.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. I'm seeing Julie Procopio unmuted.
Yes, I just wanted to make the suggestion that I really liked the initial recommendation that we consider sort of a regional representation. So I kind of volunteered last minute, but I would like to see someone from North County Inland represented on the team. Happy to, you know, have it be someone other than myself. And then I guess I'm calling out to my East County counterparts, asking if there's anyone in the East County who might be interested in participating.
Excellent point, Julie. Thank you very much. If there's any takers, we're happy to get that input after the meeting. I know that we're going to be working to compile this group I do see a hand raised. Do I see Zubir Wada?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two comments. One is probably more to Jennifer. I am member of the AB 43, and I am not a member of this working group. So that is like the first task working group that you have established, and it didn't have to be a member. So my understanding is that you look around the county and get the expert in the item you are trying to discuss to bring to this working group so they can vote on it. So that's one comment I wanted to make. The other comment is that, on the other hand, I really want to thank Sandag for this long-term vision of the ATP. I don't know, I just wanted to share with you guys my thinking in the bigger pictures, in the 30,000 high pictures, is that when you look at our freeway system, you kind of like see the 70s and the 80s, where hopefully one day we will see these freeway system also having the ATP as an integrated corridor of these freeway system, maybe not for the whole freeway, but for very critical sections that needs to meet some connectivity within the region. So in other words, as crazy as it sounds, you can see 8 around Mission Valley with the side having probably 1 or 2 lane of the general purpose lane becoming the ATP with the beautiful trees that help the environment and people walking along because of our real estate that is being there, that we could take advantage of it. It may be as crazy as it is as an idea, but I think probably in the far future, we will probably be there, hopefully. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those comments. Excellent points. I see one more hand raised, Lynette Tessitore.
Yes, I was going to say, if there's not a legal requirement that the subcommittee be comprised of the voting members, I would also agree that a subject matter expert should sit on it. So when I raise my hand, I'd like county representation, of course, for our folks that are in the rural communities to be considerations, but Zubir definitely is more of a subject matter expert than myself in that arena of Transnet, but we will defer to whatever is decided, but that would be my suggestion as well, if it's not a legal requirement.
Excellent points. All right, thank you all very much. I think the consensus we're seeing here is let's make sure we know the exact rules behind this so that we can make sure that there's a diversity of regionality, of size, and expertise, so that we get the best experts and best policy coming out of the subcommittee for the Transnet ordinance amendments. All right, we will take that back and we will work on that together. Any last comments? I see one more. Oh no, I think Lynette, that's your hand raised from earlier, correct? Sorry, thank you. All right, any last points here, Ariana or Zara or Jennifer? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Excuse me, Chair, can you just summarize then who's currently targeted for that subcommittee?
Sure, Jennifer, do you have the list running?
Yes, I do. I have NCTD, MTS, and FACT interested. We have the County of San Diego, the City of San Diego, Solana Beach, and Carlsbad. We have no representation from North County Inland or East County.
Or South County?
Or South County, I'm sorry.
Or East County, right? We don't have East County, we don't have South County. It seems like we have a lot for the North County, but like you said, nobody North County Inland, unless Julie Procopio was interested from Escondido.
I thought I heard Julie say she would be. I'm sorry, here's Julie. Yeah, Julie is here.
Yes, I said that I would be willing to volunteer for North County Inland. I just wanted to be sure that we had geographic representation. So certainly open to talking to my North County peers. I know Greg isn't on the call, and Isaac isn't here, but we've got another representative. So be happy to talk to my peers in North County and East County as well.
And then Jennifer, should we maybe reach out to South County and East County and see about their
Yes.
interest? Okay.
Yeah, I see we have Minji, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but we'll reach out to East County and South County right after this meeting. And then we'll circle back with the group on what the final group looks like, the subcommittee is made up of. But appreciate all the responses.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all very much, and thank you for their volunteers. We will, if there's no further comment, I will move us along to item number 5. Item number 5 is the Regional EV Charger Management Strategy. We will now hear an update on this management strategy project from Jeff Hoyos from Sandag. Mr. Hoyos, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, working group members. My name is Jeff Hoyos. I'm a senior regional planner here at Sandag on the climate team. And I'm joined by Samaya Elder to provide an update on the regional EV charger management strategy. Next slide, please. So this is an introduction to the strategy, as we haven't not brought this to this group. Sandag and the North County Transit District were awarded a Caltrans planning grant to develop a comprehensive public EV charger management strategy. So what that really means is developing best practices and a strategy for public agencies to install, operate, and maintain public charging at public agency lots. The strategy will support long-term public EV charging functionality, serve as a resource for local jurisdictions, and help streamline public EV charger management, maintenance, and operation. We are looking to wrap up the project in February of next year, and we are currently about ready to release the strategy. So today we'll be providing a little bit of an overview of the work we've done to date and the strategy outline as a preview, and then looking forward to having folks be able to provide some input and feedback over the next month or so as the report is out, and we'll be finalizing in September. And then as a follow-up to that, we're also going to be developing a roadmap for Sandag. Sandag, designs and builds a lot of public lots and then hands it over for operation and maintenance. So we'll be developing a roadmap for Sandag and some best practices for other public agencies. So, thank you for the next slide here. I'm going to hand it over to Samaya Elder. She's a regional planner here on the climate team and supporting the project. I'll mention here just before we jump over to Samaya that I'm the project manager from the Sandag side of the house. And so Samaya's helping with this, and happy to hand it over to her to kick us off on some of the work to date.
Hi, everyone. As Jeff mentioned, I'm a regional planner too in the climate section. I'm happy to be presenting with you all today. Next slide, please. So starting off with the first task in our work to date that's been completed for this project. The first step was to undertake a peer agency research and analysis report, which looked at different types of charging applications or use cases for public agencies. We also reviewed peer jurisdictions and determined best practices from that research. And there were many great insights from this task. And some of the main takeaways included support for the use of public-private partnerships or P3 models to deploy EV charging infrastructure, as well as support for the need for a high level of data collection, such as at the port level, to inform operation, cost, pricing, and reporting out or sharing that data about charger utilization. Next slide, please. The second task was to conduct outreach through interviews and surveys with many local jurisdictions and public agencies and different municipalities. In these interviews, the project team asked about existing practices and protocols for EV charging infrastructure deployment. This includes planning, procurement, operations and maintenance, data and reporting, equity, as well as the municipality's future plans for EV charging infrastructure. Many agencies' future plans are based on a more user-focused approach to deploying charging with an increased consideration for utilization factors. So things like safety, dependent on the location of the charger, and things that will actually support utilization. Similarly, many agencies are interested in load management, load demand management to increase charging capacity where it may otherwise be limited either by grid capacity or, again, utilization factors, and to reduce operational costs. Next slide, please. The third report to date focuses on asset management considerations or considerations for the entire implementation cycle for the charger. So this includes siting and planning, power supply needs, funding and cost of the charger, operation and pricing, and any maintenance that may be needed to keep the charger operational, as well as end-of-life considerations, so replacement or removal of the charging station. The report also looked at various ownership models and ultimately determined technical needs and specifications that will need to be included in future procurements by public agencies to procure EV charging equipment and services. I want to highlight that each of these slides has the completed report linked at the bottom if you're interested in reading more of this, of any of these reports. And for this one specifically, there are many helpful graphics and different operational scenarios that are mapped out in the report. So I really recommend taking a look at that. That is it for the work today on this project. I'll hand it back to Jeff to see if there's anything to add and also to go over what we're currently working on.
Thank you, Samaya. We can go to the next slide here. You know, one thing I'll mention and add to this before we jump into the strategy outline is what we found from the research and interviews with our peer agencies and governments throughout the region and even across the United States is there is not one set way that folks have been doing EV charger installation, operation, and maintenance. Generally, a lot of the time, these have been one-offs due to funding, grants, or agencies being able to pursue charging. And so that the process for EV charger installation, operation, and maintenance is generally varied. And so what we did through these reports were we tried to highlight the best practices, and that will help inform the regional strategy that we're talking about today. So as we release this strategy, if you have additional input that you'd like to share with SANDAG, we would welcome it. And we're looking forward to incorporating comments from the working group members here. So I'll talk about the strategy outline today. We don't have a draft quite yet ready. We're looking to release that at the end of this month. But as a preview, there are 3 main chapters within the strategy. It includes planning and installation, operations and maintenance, and life cycle considerations. So we pulled best practices from the interviews and the research that we did to date and looked at really how to identify planning and entitlement and equity considerations. We've heard from the city of San Diego earlier today that they are working on a charger management strategy as well. So coordinating regionally, understanding what the priorities and the really the goals of public agencies are for EV charging. We looked at different funding sources and the limitations or the requirements that come with grant funding, federal funding, state funding, regional funding. And then we looked at procurement and installation and some best practices around that. As far as operations and maintenance are considered, we looked at performance requirements because a lot of what we've heard from local jurisdictions and public agencies is that charging as a service is becoming more and more attractive. They don't necessarily want to operate and maintain charging themselves, but more so have a service provider come in, provide the charging. And as a subsequent or a result of that, looking at performance requirements really helps shape making sure that the charging is up and operating and is meeting the needs of the local jurisdictions. And then lastly, there are a number of user fees associated with charging. And so trying to balance the application of user fees and equity considerations, as well as some of the utility considerations there as well. And then for this last chapter here, life cycle considerations, we looked at the asset's use of full life. And so some best practices around the length of a contract that should be established, what it looks like when a contract does expire, how does it need to be transitioned, or how does it best be handed off to the next provider, and also the future functionality of EV charging. EV charging technology is changing and advancing every day. We know that higher levels are coming, and so working with a strategy that is planning for the future is important for local jurisdictions to be able to future-proof their charging installations so that they can be upgraded and meet the current demands of EV charging. So that's the overview of the charger management strategy. And so you'll see this as it comes out in a draft form. And we are, like I mentioned a second ago, looking for comments on this. If we go to the next slide here, we can talk a little bit more about next steps and what to expect from this project. So we're looking to release the strategy at the end of this month and complete it in September. So that means the month of August is really the review month. And we're looking to, in addition to the strategy, develop a couple of roadmaps for agencies. So as mentioned earlier, SANDAG will have a roadmap that is prescriptive to SANDAG as far as how we go about operating, maintaining, planning for charging stations. As an example, we work with NCTD to develop transit stations and hand it over, or MTS. And so we want to make sure that we have a good handoff and we have a good understanding of how best to design a station and then hand it off to the operator. We also will be developing some roadmaps for public agencies as, not prescriptive, but as best practices and some considerations for them to be taking as they are moving forward with charging. We're also working on an on-call pool of EV charging station service providers so that public agencies can streamline the maintenance, operation, and removal or replacement of public EV charging. So that means is we have an on-call or a bench or a pool of charging service providers that can be utilized throughout the region and can help expedite your procurement process for getting charging stations on public lots here in your region or in your service area. So we are working on this as a parallel to the EV charger management strategy. It is not directly funded by this Caltrans planning grant, but it is being leveraged to be an additional benefit. We've heard from a number of local jurisdictions that they would like to have the ability to pick from a pre-procured bench or pool of providers so that they can streamline their service providing. And so we will be going through some interviews with local governments as far as what you all need from a pool or a service provider bench. And so in the next couple of months this summer, we'll be reaching out to get some more information on that as well. And so we are kind of at this point here working on this service provider pool and wrapping up the strategy. And so we'll be sure to release the strategy to the working group members so you all can provide comment and feedback to us. We do appreciate the ability to bring this back to us. We've been holding PET meetings quarterly with a number of jurisdictions and folks that are on the call today. And so they've had a preview of this as well, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward so that we make sure that this strategy is informed by the region. So with that, I'll mention again what Samaya had said earlier. The links to the reports are included on the slides. So if you would like to learn a little bit more about the work done to date, you're welcome to grab the PDF version of these slides and click on those links. And then if you go to the next slide here, we also have our clean transportation webpage linked on this slide here. And if you have any questions or comments, want to talk about any of the regional charger EV management strategy practices that we're looking at, please feel free to reach out to myself and we can set up a meeting to talk a little bit more about it. So with that, that concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, Samaya, great work. We will now move to public comment before we go to members of the working group comment. So any member of the public would like to speak to this, please raise your hand now. Seeing none, we will now move to the working group members. Are there any questions or comments for Jeff or Samaya on this? Seeing no hands raised and no cameras on, I will just say thank you again, Jeff and Samaya. This is really good work. I understand just how important electrical vehicles are to our long-term sustainability, all the various aspects of why we want to move away from combustion engines and how we need the regional infrastructure with the chargers so that people can take advantage of it at a good price and wherever they go. I know the biggest complaint is always that you can't drive too far in an electrical vehicle without having to recharge. And I know that this is going to be part of that. And of course, working towards the county's climate action plan goals is very much supported. So not seeing any questions or comments. Thank you very, very much for your hard work. We will see you again soon. Moving on to item number 6, which is a recommendation letter on reducing speed limits. We will now hear from our staff from Sandag, Josh Clark, to talk about an update to this recommendation letter. Josh, proceed.
Thanks, I appreciate it very much. I wanted to talk about the work to date that we as the AB 43 task force have been doing. And just to step back a bit, the AB 43 task force was initiated earlier this year with amendments to the California Vehicle Code that were they're brought through legislation, AB 43, authored by Laura Friedman last year, and were signed by the governor. So with those changes in effect at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of discussion of how our agencies locally enacting utilizing these changes to effectively set speed limits here in the region, and how our agencies statewide using these, and then what are some of the best practices that we can discuss again statewide or locally and bring back to CTAC Santec, which we were initially reporting to, or this group, which we now have the opportunity to report to as well with those findings. So in those with that as sort of the mission of that task force, we're very fortunate to have Zubir, who spoke earlier and is indeed a subject matter expert who has been keeping very close tabs to the interpretations and the follow-on work required by the California Traffic Control Device Committee and Caltrans. Effectively, there are two definitions that still need to be determined and will be effective in the next update of the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. So the intent here is to provide some input on those definitions, and the definitions are specifically permit a local agency to reduce the speed limit an additional 5 miles per hour. And these two, the two definitions would be criteria, still to be defined criteria, but the definitions are for either one, a safety corridor, or two, an area with a high concentration of bicycle or pedestrians, or and there's an ellipses there, some additional roadway users. So I'm not going to quote it, but you can see this in the recommendations letter, is that these are still to be defined, and something that a task force and a working group like this can provide some input on how these are defined, unique to the San Diego region and unique to your local jurisdictions. So we in the task force looked at, for example, the City of San Diego's pedestrian master plan to look at some of those high attractors and generators to flesh out some ideas for how to define an area with a high concentration of bicycles and pedestrians. So too have we thought about how the safety corridors might be defined. And the reason that we are providing this input is because this is moving very quickly, and the California Traffic Control Device Committee next meets on Thursday, August 4th. And they could take action on this without having input from a group like ours to help define these two concepts. And so taking the task force, taking this up as something where we feel like a group like yours should be able to provide input, the final paragraph in this letter is asking them not to take action on that yet until we can review how they're defining the safety corridor and the high concentration. That's the primary objective of this letter. And so I appreciate having you all review, interested to hear your thoughts. I also will mention that Zubir, as we know, is on the call. And so some of the particulars for the vehicle code amendments, he could certainly speak to better than I, but I do want to get your thoughts on this letter that we do hope to send to Secretary Boulard of the CTCDC ahead of their next meeting.
Thank you very much, Josh. I see that we have Alyssa Muto from the City of San Diego. Please go ahead.
I think Mo got on before me, so I'll defer to him.
Very good. Mo, proceed, please. Small cities first. Small cities first, right?
Thank you, Lisa, for your courtesy. I just wanted to personally endorse this letter. I think it is a very well composed and certainly hits the point, and maybe even recommend that it be signed by the chair, but that obviously is their prerogative. I personally think it's a good letter on behalf of at least City of Solana Beach. We highly agree with the recommendation and comments that made in this letter. I think it's a good idea for us to be a little bit more involved in making our own destiny. And that letter clearly defines that and expresses that. So like I said, I'm very much in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mo. Alyssa.
Yes, thank you, Chair Campillo. So this is a really important effort that Josh, that you and the rest of the team at Sandag have put into creating a letter. And a couple things, we appreciate you using the propensity information. That's a really powerful tool of what are the barriers, where are the opportunities, where are the barriers of the propensity of people to walk or bike. And I think that that could be a great tool in identifying where we want to target for reduced speed. The letter is well done. It hits many of, I think, a lot of the same points that we've been talking about internally at the City of San Diego. I maybe have a question of the what if they are going to take action on the 4th? What is our kind of backup approach or plan for speaking or getting folks activated? Because we know that not always we are listened to at the local levels to slow down action that's happening at another agency.
Zubir, I don't mind at all if you want to jump in here and speak to that what if question as well, because my understanding is what if they move forward with the definition that we don't necessarily agree with and wouldn't apply to as great a geographic area as we would intend a definition to apply, is that yeah, we are certainly stuck. We've seen that there's already been amendments to the California Vehicle Code, further clarified with new legislation from the same assembly members, excuse me, AB 1938, that says, no, this was certainly our intent. And we already understand there's been some misinterpretation of the intent of how much you can lower the speed limit. And so that I would say that it certainly opens it up to kind of go back to square one and see some additional legislation written. But please, Zubir.
Mr. Chair? You want me to address? Yeah,
absolutely.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak. But Alyssa, I think you probably don't have to worry too much about that, because I am also on the California task force to rewrite the MUTCD to comply with the AB 43. And Caltrans is definitely not there to define the criteria for a safety corridor as well as a high generator for pedestrians. So the other sections of the code or the AB 43, they are very straightforward. There was only one that was a little bit what it was the intent of the legislature, that now we have, I think, AB 1938 or something like that, that I think in the letters mentioned, it just identified that these 5 miles per hour are in addition to the existing law that allows us to reduce the speed limit by 5 miles per hour when you have conditions that are not apparent to drivers. So as far as I know, I think they're going to go with an information items and give them the schedule and tell them that they will come back. By law, the California Traffic Control Devices Committee is supposed to work with us. I think we can tell them, don't take any action. We still need to review. Therefore, please, come back later. So being in that committee, I'm trying to convey to you, I think it could be 90% that the Traffic Control Devices Committee is not going to take action on these 2 specific items. And remember, the law says by 2024 or until the jurisdictional, whatever that stuff is the committee is formed or whatever it is. So Caltrans does not have to hurry and get it on, for the August meeting. That's 1. And 2, I just wanted to probably say to Mo, thank you. I think you probably are prime, and especially the city of Del Mar, prime for their Pacific Coast Highway being a 4-lane to be probably posted at 25 miles per hour on prima facie. You don't have to do any more speed surveys as long as you get the approach speed to be 30, or 25 for a 20 miles per hour. I really do see a lot of opportunity for the local agency to create these walkable corridors with this new law. Remember, the law is setting speed limit to enhance safety. That is really the purpose of it, is to reduce the speed so people can walk comfortably and, nicely on the sidewalk and probably sit down at Starbucks and have a cup of coffee, and the car is not zooming at 50 miles per hour by them. So I just wanted to share that, my thought with the committee. So, and I'll be happy to answer any other questions. Well, answer not any, but answer questions that I could answer, if you have any. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Scott.
Hi, can everybody hear me okay?
We can hear you loud and clear perfectly.
Perfect. My one concern about AB 43, and I'm not sure if anybody's addressing it, is there's that Goulet case, Goulet versus the people, and there's the whole 50th percentile, where I feel like a lot of speed limits, if a speed survey is done, a lot of this, the posted speed limits might be below the 50th percentile. And I'm wondering how that can be addressed when police go to the traffic commission courts and try to fight that ticket. And then also, is there going to be any training for these traffic commissioners at the courts so that they're very familiar with AB 43 and can, you know, apply the new rules for when PD goes to fight a ticket?
Good points. Does anyone have anything to add to that particular question, Zubir?
Yeah, please. I'm sorry. Thank you. I will. I think the 50th percentile is really deal with the first step of setting the speed limit in accordance with the 85th percentile. So here's, you got the 85th, you collected it, it's 47, say it's 48, do you go to 47 or 50? And that's where you start looking at the 50th percentile speed, and also the range of the speed, you know, the range of it. But I think once you get to that condition that are not apparent to driver, reduction of 5, and say a safety corridor and or a high concentration of pedestrian and bicyclists, these are sections in the law. It really has nothing to do with the 85th percentile and 50th or the speed survey study. I'm saying, hey, it meets the code, therefore I'm going to take advantage of the 5 miles per hour. So I honestly, as being involved in the speed surveys, so many, well, if the commissioner and the judge needs to be trained to think that way, but I think we probably could convince them that, look, the law is giving us this to reduce the speed limit 5 miles per hour. We should be able to reduce it because it meets that criteria. So that's, Tila, I think you probably should be comfortable with it. For training, I don't know, it's not an easy subject. ITE used to have a training for the public officials, or it used to have a workshop for public officials. I'll be happy to be part of it. I think you probably need to coordinate with ITE to see if we can put something together for the public officials or the commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Frank.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And to Zabir's comments regarding the coastline, I just wanted to share that I was thinking of creating some sort of a working group to help educate the Coastal Commission staff of all of the current state laws in regards to mobility, because what we've been seeing, at least in North County, is we've been seeing Coastal Commission staff conditioning projects to address LOS issues tied to vehicle movements. So I feel that it would be very beneficial for, I think, all of the region to just educate all of the different stakeholders on current state laws regarding mobility. So after talking or thinking through what our working group charter is, maybe it's something that we want to take on. But in the meantime, I just wanted to share that with you. That's been a challenge for us. And we all know in this group that we're focused on moving people and not just cars. So just wanted to throw that out there. Didn't want to really grow to our work plan at this point, but wanted to share that information.
Thank you very much for that. Do we have any further comments? Members of the public, are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this topic, this item? Seeing none, I thank everyone for their input and their expertise. This is something that I do really feel strongly about. So thank you, Josh, for all your hard work on this. I know that speed limits. One of the significant things I think about, just commuters, no matter where they're coming from or going to, obviously they want to get there quickly. They don't want to waste time. But when I think about reducing the speed of our passenger vehicles, just cars, I think there's two aspects to that that are important. The slower the car goes, the more efficient the engine is, which is important for climate action plans, greenhouse gas emissions, things like that. The second thing I think of is the safety. Well, that's the first thing I think of is actually the safety because the amount of time that's saved by driving 5 miles an hour faster is so minuscule over the course of time, particularly considering traffic, red lights, everything that comes together. You know, if you drive 35 miles an hour as opposed to 30 miles an hour over the course of a mile, you're only saving 18 seconds. You know, if driving 30 miles an hour instead of 25, you're saving 24 seconds over the course of a mile. But the rate of severe injury and death just exponentially increases in that zone between 25 and 30, 35, 40. So I think that it's really important that we get this right. I know there's legal implications. I know there's statistical implications, and I appreciate the details there as it relates to the 50th percentile and what effects it could actually have when we do those traffic studies. But I hope that at the forefront of our mind, definitely at the forefront of my mind, is that we save minuscule amounts of time and put bicyclists and pedestrians at a far greater risk of severe injury or death. And the last thing I'd point out too is it's not just because of the energy within the vehicle traveling, but the amount of time a person, the driver gets to respond. Those extra several milliseconds ultimately leads to a deceleration that will save lives. And I think it's important that we always put that at the forefront. So thank you for all your hard work on this, Josh. Look forward to seeing the close to final draft of this as we move forward. And if there's no further comments or questions, I'll thank everyone for their perspectives on this. Thank you very much, Josh. We have now come to the end of item 6, and so we are on to our conclusion. Item 7 is simply to say thank you, and we will be seeing you all at our next Mobility Working Group meeting, which will be September 8th, 2022 at 9 a.m.
Apologies, Chair. It is set for action to either approve this letter to be sent to the Traffic Control Device Committee Secretary ahead of that meeting, or if, as you suggest, to take another, to revise the draft and present this again for a future CTCDC meeting. We're happy to do that.
Understood. I'm seeing that this was an information item as opposed to,
Oh,
so that's why I proceeded to move along. But
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, so it should be an action item. I'm sorry, that's our error.
No problem. Okay. Well, in that case, I will entertain a motion. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion at this time? I see Lynette, I saw your camera turn on.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
I hear a second from Mr. Frank. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, thank you very much. We will now call the roll. Please proceed, clerk.
Jennifer, would you like me to go ahead and call roll?
Yes, please, Ashley.
Okay, for the city of Carlsbad, Tom Frank.
Yes.
Thank you. For the city of Chula Vista.
This is Bill Valley. Yeah, Frank had to leave. This is Bill Valley, but we vote yes.
Okay, thank you. For the city of Coronado, Howard Lee.
Yes.
For the city of Del Mar, Joe Bride.
Yes.
For the city of El Cajon, Mario Sanchez. All right, I can go back to El Cajon if they are still here. For the city of Encinitas, Jack Lober.
Yes.
For the city of Escondido, Julie Procopio.
Approve.
For the city of Imperial Beach, Juan Larso.
Yes.
For the city of La Mesa, Michael Throne. I can come back to the city of La Mesa. The city of Lemon Grove is absent. The city of National City, I believe, is absent as well. City of Oceanside, Tila Cotter.
Tila Cotter, yes.
Tila, sorry. City of Poway, Melody Rocco.
It's Rocco, but yes.
City of San Diego, Alyssa Muto.
Yes.
And then we have the city of San Marcos. We have either Karen or Stephanie.
This is Stephanie Keller. We vote yes.
Thank you. City of Santee, Minji May.
Yes.
City of Solana Beach, Mo Summit.
Solana Beach, yes.
Okay. City of Vista, Greg Meyer.
He's absent.
Thank you. For the County of San Diego, Lynette. You
Yes.
first, thank you. For North County Transit District, Katie Persons. I can come back to North County. MTS, Matt Marquez.
Yes.
Thank you. For the Port of San Diego, Port of San Diego is absent. For Airport Authority, Brendan Reed.
Airport Authority, yes.
Okay. I can go back to was the City of El Cajon here? Okay. Was North County Transit District still here? Katie?
Katie had to leave, Ashley.
Okay, thank you. With those votes, it passes.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Josh. Thanks for catching me on that. We look forward to seeing that move forward. At this point, we will now proceed to our adjournment. Thank you, everyone, for all your hard work, and thank you for all the folks who volunteered. I know we got several subcommittees and work groups and everything that come together out of this. So great first meeting. Look forward to seeing you all again soon on September 8th, 2022, 9 a.m. That concludes the meeting, and thank you all. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.